This is Dr. Bukhari. So this is the second video of our research paper writing series. So if you haven't watched our first video about abstract writing and you haven't got a chance to watch the video about types of research paper, I highly recommend to go over to the our playlist and watch those videos. Now, in this video, I will share some pro tips and also the structure about writing a compelling introduction. So let's start. This is how I formalize the introduction part of my research paper. I'll start with an introductory paragraph. And in the introductory paragraph, I give a general introductions to the topic for a broad or wider audience. Just like if you remember, we discuss in our abstract, we'll start with a broader audience, general audience, right? Then what I do, this is in the two paragraph. In the first 3 to 4 lines, I just give a general introductions. Then I move to a narrow focus to a particular topic, and then then in the after 1.5 paragraph, I just move on stating the purpose of my research, like why I am doing this research, what motive behind. So introduction part is really important. Why? It's just like the abstract, the intro part is really a selling booth for your research. When I read the research article, if I start with abstract, and some informations are, as we write the abstract, like in a summarized way, and I feel that, okay, so the author might have explained this information in the introduction part. Let's look at that. If the introduction is not well organized, information is not providing me some background information, and if the information is provided but it's not very logically linked, I usually look for another paper. So going with the general broad audience, narrow down to particular topic, then stating about your research paper, the motive behind of your research paper, that is very important. And remember, here we will not give the detail about our research problem. Here we are just in a way to introduce that. See, in a 2 paragraph, if we divide that, only few lines would left to provide our research problems and aims. Now, some articles or some people combine introduction with the literature review part. Sometimes we have the introduction part separate, a literature review part separate. If that would be the case, then the intro general information and a narrow down point and the research problem part would become one paragraph. That would be the 3 paragraphs. But otherwise, if we are writing intro plus literature review thing, then we usually combine that in a way, because then in that way it would be a combined intro plus your literature review. That's gonna be a roughly around 2.5 pages. Then it will come to the literature review part. Literature review, here you have to find first the relevant material that are the relevant research paper, and you have to summarize them or quote them. And it's very important to look at the research paper which are published in highly or good impact or relevant impact journals. Must be recent or latest research, and then do not cite or add the papers which are somewhat relevant, which are somewhat not. Try to at this point to add the literature review paper which are very relevant to the work that you are doing. And At this point, what we also do that we try to look and summarize different papers and try to find a gap, like where and try to somehow logically link that our research paper are trying to fill that gap, or our research paper our helps to understand that particular things which are not previously discussed or well explored. And thirdly, no, we'll go give a, so first we give the two paragraphs. So literature review part usually will give a 3 paragraph, that's roughly 1 page. Then we move on to the research targets. This is actually the explanations of our third point, like state your research problem and aims. But here we write in detail, like we write our hypotheses, our research question, like why we have started this research. And here we can write a bit detail, the motive behind. Then we can also briefly describe our accomplishment, what we achieved, lesson learned, some interesting results, give a preview of the main results, our contribution, which the people, they often make a mistake, early career especially, they really do not, they mix up everything, they do not highlight their real contribution. Then, at the end, you give a section by section overview of the paper. Here, for example, in the section number 3, we explained our method. In section number 4, we are explaining our results. And section 5, we have discussions, and then we have the conclusion. So it will give it gives a heads up to the to a reader that what section will come next. But you see that how the things are logically connected and how the things are flowing in a way that would make the overall reading easier to a particular reader. Now, let me give you an example. So this is an example of the background, then the discussion part, and the indication part. Now you see that the first, if you read the first lines, better if you could stop the video and read that. During the last 2 decades, the miniaturizations of the devices, pediatric embryology has always been moving towards the inventions of less invasive approaches. You see, the writer here started with a very broad thing, which would be understandable to the wider audience. Then again, it's moved to the, as we discussed, that it moved to the narrow down. Then it will explain what they people are doing. Then the second paragraph, discussion of the basic references relating to the main topic. Here, basically, if you can see here, at bank, I added that add references throughout from the introductory paragraph till the paper overview. Please add references. But references, this is another science and art, that how you will write the references and where the people they make mistake. I just give you that you write the abstract, you add the references which are relevant, which come from a good journal. Also look at the conferential journal in which you have submitted the paper, what kind of references those researchers or submitters they have used there. That would give you the idea that how the accepted papers they have used the references. And as we all know that the paper, when submit for the journals and conferences, they go to the peer review process, and definitely that information will be vetted from different people. So if they have approved that kind of references, then you can go ahead and use that or choose that journals. That's another tip. And you see that the third paragraph, indication of the purpose. So the introductory paragraph, and here we didn't add, in this example, didn't add the much about the literature review work. So we focused on introductory paragraph. then it will come the research targets, and then overall the provided about the results. This is one example. Several examples I could list also in the video description, 2-3 my papers, which you can read that, and it could give you the idea about the outlining of the introduction part. But introduction are usually either combined with introduction plus literature review, or usually the introduction come separate from the literature review part. Now, some lesson learned, some do and don'ts, which you should do and which you shouldn't do while writing the part of the introduction. Abbreviation. Please introduce the abbreviations now. On abstract, we discussed that try not to add as many as abstracts abbreviations. But now, you know, as you are trying to introduce your audience, the words, the abbreviation, the things that are terminology that you are gonna use throughout your paper. So try to start at beginning. About the references. For example, just give you a very easy example. If you are writing about like the World Wide Web, so at beginning introduce the World Wide www, then World Wide Web. So that, you know, then next as you move on, you don't need to write World Wide Web. You can use the word www. Then we usually write the abstract in simple present tense, but I mean, it's a good practice to write in simple present tense. Also, references we discussed, I give you the 2 tips earlier. Now, when you cite that, must cite, but do not cite excessively, which means do not write, maybe you write it 1, 2, 3 lines, then add 7, 8, 9 references about those 2, 3 lines. Just like as mentioned, I mentioned the examples like 8 to 20 references. That would create a very bad impression, right? So add references, relevant references, but don't just bombard, just don't put too much information for a reader that it would be very hard for the reader, even in the beginning paragraph, to digest information. Type of contribution. This is important again. You know, the people, not only the early careers people, those who have the established researchers, they also make the mistake. They do not highlight their research contribution clearly. What I do that I usually put my contribution in bullets, in points, that this is what I did, this method I developed, that this method I improved, that this data set I used, that. In that way, you know, it would be very clear for the readers, it would be very clear to the reviewer and audience, like my level of the contribution. And in that way, you know, it would also easier for the editor to see the paper quality, right? Write your research question, your method, your results in clear, in a simple, plain language, and try to avoid the complex language, complex word. Make it a smooth, make it easier, make it a more readable to your readers. And when I done, I again do the same job. I read loudly, and you guys can use the grammar tool. There are several available. You can give it to your friend to review the grammar, the style. Check the flow. Also at the end, you know, I try to check, as I said, just like the abstract part, I take my introduction, I'll see the introductions or the literature reviews submitted to that particular journal and to the conference, and see that how my introduction part is different or similar, or how I can rate that with already accepted paper. So these are the few points which I consider, and I recommend you should also consider. And good luck with your research. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.